Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today I'm going to show you how to hook your Switch Joy-Cons up to Steam and use them either as a unified controller or as individual controllers. So the first thing you gotta do, upper left corner of Steam, click on the Steam logo name thing, and click on Settings, and then go down in the left-hand sidebar of this pop-up window to the controller settings. This is where all of your controller stuff is going to be set up, and what you want to pay attention to is the top, where it detects your controller, and then if you want, you don't need to have this toggled on, but if you want to use a Switch Pro controller, you can enable full support for Pro controllers by toggling this button on and off down here. So once this is open, that's pretty much all you need to do, but if yours looks different or behaves differently, just note that I have the extended Xbox feature support driver installed, and that might adjust some of the settings. I'm not 100% on that. And then we got to pair these controllers to my computer. So we do that with the Bluetooth window. You can find this in your Windows system settings under Bluetooth and other devices. And let's start with the right controller. On the back side where it connects to your Switch or slides into the slot and to connect to the Switch, there's a button next to the 4 little like blinky lights. Press and hold on that until the 4 blinky lights start to flash and spin back and forth. And then click on the button here at the top of this Bluetooth and other devices windows to add a device. And then we want to search via Bluetooth. We're looking for the right Joy-Con here at the bottom, and it should connect. Do note that when you connect these Joy-Cons to something that isn't a Switch, these flashing lights will probably never stop flashing. Just be aware of that. Mine actually did stop flashing, though. They didn't before when I was testing this, so it's kind of up in the air. We're going to do the same thing to the left Joy-Con. I'm going to press and hold on that same little button on the back side till the 4 little lights start to flash. I'm going to click Add a Device, add it from Bluetooth, and I'm looking for the left controller. It's got a little L on it. Pretty self-explanatory. And then once that's done, and I open up this window, it should detect it. So let's go over some quick stuff. If you want it to function as a unified controller, an option just popped up in our little pull-down list here. Combine Joy-Con pairs into a single controller is this. It's ticked on by default because there's not a lot of games that support just one Joy-Con, but if you have got one and you want them to act individually, you toggle this off down here. Otherwise, you've got stuff at the top like enabling the game rumble in the Joy-Cons, using the Nintendo button layout in games where it swaps around the A and the B buttons and like the X and the Y so that it matches on screen what you see on your controller. Doesn't always work in all games, but sometimes it does. You can test the controller with this button to mess around and make sure all your buttons are working and properly hooked up and stuff. Makes stuff pop up on my screen for whatever reason. And you can also set up and reconfigure with the setup button what each button does. So you can say like, oh, I want this button to be bound to X instead. That sort of thing. The other one down here is calibration and advanced settings. Under joysticks, you can adjust the dead zone from both left and right sticks. Super important with Joy-Cons because these things get messed up pretty quick. Gyro calibration, if this thing's wigging out when you don't hold it, you can calibrate it by setting it down on the table and then clicking the calibrate button. And then you also have the ability to turn rumble on or off through that window as well. Again, you can turn this off down here to combine Joy-Cons as a pair. So we'll go ahead and toggle that off and see what it does, because they're both still connected. Let's see how it wants to behave. So now it shows 2 of them, and you click individually which one you want to mess with in order to change its settings. That's fair. And you can change the haptic settings on or off by using like the position controls, because when I move them around, they've got position data. I don't know how well that works on Steam, so take that with a grain of salt. But you can also do the same tests down here, and you can also turn on or off the same button layout changes. So it's handy to see that that is easy to calibrate and adjust. The rest of these settings are pretty much just turning on or off support in different settings for things like the guide button focuses the Steam window, enable Steam input for Xbox controllers, which you're not using an Xbox controller, enable Steam input for generic controllers, that sort of thing. And then down here, I'll do a different tutorial for how to edit your desktop layout and edit your guide button chord layout later. Most of this stuff is kind of enabled by default and just mirrors an Xbox controller key binding by default. So just keep that in mind when you're playing around with it. So that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry. This has been how to hook your Joy-Cons to Steam. If you want to remove these from your computer, if they're being weird when you try to connect them to your Switch, go back into your Bluetooth settings, click on them, click on Remove Device, confirm your choice, and then if you're holding them, they'll do a little blurp where they're like, no, don't disconnect me, I don't want to get turned off. And then that's how you do that. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found that helpful. I've been your host, Larry. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.